Hi there, smart choice again to tune into this EHEDG Connects news update, especially if you're interested in doing business with the food industry in Australia. Because today we have Rick de Sousa, the chair of the EHEDG Regional Section Australia in the studio. Rick, could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, I'm Rick de Sousa. I own and run RDS Technical Services, which is a consulting company, and I support food and beverage manufacturers and small to medium enterprises with all aspects of food and beverage manufacturing.
Why did you decide to become a EHEDG Regional Section chair in your part of the world?
I think there's an opportunity to give industry something back, and it's lovely to share my knowledge and share somebody else's knowledge with a new generation. There are many, many people who are very well credentialed, but there's also a hunger for knowledge in younger people, and I want to give those younger people access to this world's best practice knowledge. So there's the reason I'm doing this, and the reason EHEDG is relevant is because it's a wonderful knowledge base. It is a volunteer organisation around the world for food and beverage manufacturing, but it is the best practice that you can get. So why not share it? Why not be an ambassador? And I can assure you that carrying that flame for EHEDG in Australia brings with it wonderful benefits. It gives you a chance to say, hey, I'm doing this because I care about the knowledge sharing. I'm doing this because it is actually a very beneficial thing for your process. I'm doing it because it's a common language across countries right around the world. Wherever you may travel in your career, you'll be able to use this because EHEDG is becoming known globally. That's my motivation, to give to the industry, to share with as many people as possible, and to bring them into an environment where they can feel secure, that they can develop and learn, and hopefully as we grow, they can contribute back.
Now, many of us know that Australians are always very particular. They have their own ways in developing their industries. Can you maybe give us an insight in how the food industry in Australia has been shaped by the ongoing globalization?
Of course, globalization is a phenomenon that we're all aware of. In Australia, it takes the form of European companies, American companies, companies with their ownership in Asia, certainly companies in New Zealand, very much influencing the makeup of food manufacturing and pharmaceutical in Australia. And these organisations are very aware of the differences in culture around the world now. They invest very heavily in consistency of delivery through their programs and their policies. And that's why EHEDG offers a potential in Australia to confirm what these very powerful and very competent and high-performing organisations already do elsewhere. EHEDG brings that capacity to normalise and give consistent delivery of performance.
How well known is EHEDG at this moment in Australia?
I'm starting to find in magazines, Tetra Pak are now starting to advertise EHEDG as part of their infomercials. So in a technical forum, they will say, accredited to EHEDG. Companies are starting to quite proudly, when they become members, put the membership badge on their marketing in Australia. It has taken some time to introduce EHEDG as a resource, but slowly, the idea that EHEDG is a global information source is starting to take hold. So when I was in Brisbane, we saw a number of global companies who actually didn't understand why they had EHEDG on their marketing.
Now, in earlier interviews, you have stated that you believe in a holistic approach of food safety in your region. Can you explain?
I like what you have used the word holistic. EHEDG has reached far beyond any one part of an organisation. We're seeing that most recently with developments around GFSI. We're getting quite a lot of traction on any information or media we share in Australia. So yes, the opportunity to share with people involved in operations and factories, for example, is one place. And a simple example, I've been asked to go to Melbourne to help the owner of a new factory just walk through and give him perspective of what his equipment, what is the equipment that he's purchased, and is it really useful for him? Well, there's at least 4 or 5 guidelines that I will be sharing with him to say, this is best practice. You need to be aware of this. From the marketing perspective, we have organisations just starting to reach out to us and say, what are you doing with EHEDG, and how does it interact with our organisation and our attempts to merchandise our products? Because we keep hearing about this from a production and quality perspective. Some people suggesting, well, we know about this training in New Zealand. Apparently, a Mr. David Lowry ran a program there, and we would like to know more in Australia. What's happening there? Your phrase again, holistic, is a wonderful way to look at this. And so therefore we have to be quite broad thinking about how we share information, who we can send it to, and then we're allowing that to take its own energy as people start to ask their questions. And a way to use our scarce resources to respond to that, I guess, is later this year. We're hoping to use David's newfound accreditation as a trainer to start to run our programs as well in Australia. So rather than David will do his, I'll do mine. We think there's a wonderful story to tell on behalf of EHEDG and be global from a local perspective.
Now, many of your EHEDG regional section members are also members of EHEDG in Europe, for example, because many of your members are big multinational food processing companies. What can your regional section offer them as an extra value?
The major manufacturers from around the world are here in Australia and have a good presence. For example, Multivac, GEA, the list goes on.
Yeah.
An interesting thing I will add, though, is we have on either end of the scale some developments. There are international organisations who are starting to recognise that they can use EHEDG to visit Australia, maybe reach new markets that they hadn't seen before. EHEDG allowed me to be introduced to someone in Turkey. One of our EHEDG colleagues recommended that I might be a contact. And that started a lovely conversation where we talked about what it would mean for them to enter the Australian market.
Do you have some suggestion for EHEDG as well, Rick? How can EHEDG offer support to your region to help you to propagate the benefits of hygienic design in Australia?
Rob, you asked what EHEDG can do to help us in Australia and New Zealand, and I would like to think in every part of the world where there's a new EHEDG member. The first thing would be to view our part of EHEDG as being an ambassador for all those end users who eat the food that needs to be safe. So anybody who is part of a global company who's producing food or producing pharmaceuticals that needs to be safe, EHEDG can say, yes, we understand that, and our friends in Australia and New Zealand and around the world understand that. So that would be the first thing EHEDG can do is just share that Australia and New Zealand and other parts of the world are very much on board with what we're trying to achieve. The second thing EHEDG could do would be to invite us along to forums. I'm finding it's very, very easy to be part of discussions when it's in the morning time like we are now in Europe. And that has the cross-pollination opportunity to learn about each other, but it helps us to understand what EHEDG is achieving with clients, with training, with attendance at forums. So we would very much welcome the invitations. And then lastly, I think continue to share information about what EHEDG is doing in terms of developing knowledge. There's been a lot of webinars and forums which are coming through. It's very easy for us to share locally when there's a company within EHEDG that wants to share some knowledge. We welcome the opportunity to share that here as well. So that would be the three core things. Again, all based around the fact that we believe in producing the highest quality possible product for end users and supporting our members and manufacturers in designing their processes to achieve that.
Thank you, Rick de Sousa, for your update on your ongoing activities for EHEDG in Australia.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate the time.